Peace be with you. Welcome to the Institute of All Intelligent Life. My name is Alan Kiesler, and we are continuing our discussion about time and timelines, and specifically talking about the power of our co-creative consciousness, as we briefly mentioned yesterday. Again, this morning I could not get the signal connected as I was trying to log on to the live chat. I was inside our Institute of All Intelligent Life classroom, so I was not able to start. So I've come outside again. It looks like this may become our permanent classroom out here. So, this is going to be a very, very interesting class today. I was doing some further research, and I was very pleased to discover that everything I had been talking about yesterday is being increasingly confirmed by others. It's a very, very far out idea. It may seem very strange, these ideas about time, different timelines, how we may shift from one timeline to another. But this is the reality. This is the way time is actually structured. Our idea about time as a single stream, as we discussed yesterday, is not accurate. In fact, I'm going to explain a little bit more why we have this concept of time. We have this concept of time specifically because our former, we can say, our former leaders, the cabal, the people who were controlling and manipulating humanity for a long, long time, they wanted us to have this idea, because if time is just a single stream, like a river flowing, we are kind of weak and even helpless to do anything about it. I hope you understand what I'm saying, that we've been given the idea that we may be sort of like fish swimming in a river, and we're just being carried helplessly down the stream of time. And this is exactly where we have been trapped. This idea of time is actually a trap. It's a way to restrict us from actually understanding the power of our own consciousness, that we ourselves, by our own choices, we determine what happens to us and what happens around us. So, an essential to understanding this is this realization that time is not just a single stream flowing from the past into the present, into the future. Rather, time is like, as I said yesterday, a delta where there are many streams, and we can actually choose which stream we want to be in. And we can help other people choose a positive stream, rather than thinking that we are helplessly being controlled by the cabal or by satanic forces or by this or that. Certainly, that's the way it appears in the world today. There are very powerful forces, international bankers or banksters, international multinational corporations with tremendous wealth and power, our governments, which seem to exert so much control over our lives. But actually, and this is a very, very important point, actually we have the ability, by our own prayer and meditation, by focusing our awareness on a result or a way of life that we choose freely. We have the freedom to choose, and we can influence the outcome. So this is wonderful news, that if we meditate on peace, we meditate on love and harmony, we meditate on justice and truthfulness, that we can actually bring about that situation, to the extent that we can shift the timeline that we are in. And other people may choose other timelines. Everyone is free to choose which timeline they will participate in. But we can help people, and if people respond to our offer to help, then they can also choose a positive timeline, and they can then inform other people about their freedom to choose, and we can all choose peace. We can make a conscious effort, a free choice, to establish peace within our own hearts. Peace means love and forgiveness. It's very, very important. Forgiveness is very, very important. The whole desire for peace and harmony depends on peace and harmony in our own hearts too. So very important for our own peace of mind and for ourselves to be peaceful is to forgive. To forgive people who may have done horrible things against us. But we have to learn to forgive. And we have to forgive ourselves for mistakes that we've made or things that we've done that may be very foolish. We may have done things that were not good for ourselves. So we have to be able to forgive ourselves also. That means we have to love ourselves, because we can love somebody, and if we choose to love somebody, then we can forgive them more easily. So these two are very closely intertwined, love and forgiveness. So in order to forgive ourselves for our past mistakes and errors and things that we have done against ourselves, we have to learn to love ourselves also. Because each one of us is lovable. Each one of us is a tiny, maybe, we may be very small, we may appear to be very insignificant, but the fact of the matter is that we are a spark of consciousness. And consciousness is very, very powerful. Our own consciousness actually determines our existence, our future, our way of life. The society that we live in, actually, we can also choose by making that conscious, free choice to choose love, to choose harmony, to choose peace, to choose justice and truthfulness, and to choose forgiveness. So I am going to post here also a very important web page, which I just read this morning, and I had seen it previously, but I hadn't actually read it very carefully. But it mentions the Mandela effect, which I spoke about yesterday, which is, as I explained, the great South African leader, Nelson Mandela, died in 1983 or so in prison. That was what many people remembered. And as I explained yesterday, some people even had notes. One person had been in school, and for a current events course, he had chosen to make some notes and give a presentation in class about Nelson Mandela's death in prison. So he had those notes with him even now. But, as we all know who have studied a little bit of current events and history, Nelson Mandela did not, on our timeline that we're living in now, Nelson Mandela did not die in 1983, but about 2013, I believe, just about 3 years ago, he passed away. So what this means is that there was a timeline shift that happened at some time. And that timeline in which Nelson Mandela did pass away in prison in about 1983, that timeline was shifted. We all were shifted from that timeline to the timeline in which he survived. He was released from prison. He became the president of South Africa, and he did wonderful work with his Truth and Reconciliation Commission, forgiving the white people of South Africa who had implemented apartheid and had, done so many horrible things, especially to the black people and the colored people of South Africa. So that shifted. That was a big shift towards forgiveness and love. So we can also implement such shifts. It's amazing. It's an amazing idea. But it's true, and it's wonderful to hear this news, good news, that we have this ability if we work together especially. And that's why I started this daily meditation and prayer. It's only about 20 minutes or even 15 minutes every morning at 6:30 a.m. In Pakistan, which is in the afternoon at 5:30 here in California, and it is 1:30 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, or the time in England. So if you live in some other time zone, you can find out from that what time it is every day. We're now doing that, and I don't know if any of you have joined that, but I'm finding it very, very enlivening. Very well. My mind becomes peaceful and happy just by this meditation, by the power, I'm sure. There are a few other people, not very many, but there are a few other people who have already joined in these daily meditation and prayer sessions, and we chant and we do deep breathing, as we've also been doing quite frequently in this class. We haven't done it today because I was a little unable to get onto the internet from the classroom, so I had to come outside here. And it is a little cold here, but I'm feeling enlivened by the cold. So let me just think. What time is it? Okay, so we have a lot more time. So let me go into this a little bit more about the source of this information, or this confirmation anyway, because these ideas are coming to me. They have been for a while, and it was wonderful to read a conversation that Corey Goode, Coreygoode, I strongly recommend, if you haven't yet done a search on him, and go to his website, which is spherebeingalliance.org. I'm going to post this specific conversation that he had with David Wilcock, which the whole transcript is given there on his website, and I will post that page after we finish this class. So in that conversation, they discuss timelines, timeline shifts, and the Mandela effect. And it's actually a very widespread phenomenon. This is not just happening here on Earth, but throughout our universe, throughout the cosmos, these sorts of timeline shifts are common. It's not something strange or weird to people. People who have an understanding of time, a much better understanding of time than we do, this narrow box, the small little box that we've been put into, of thinking that we're stuck in time. No, that is a wrong idea. We are not stuck in time. We can actually influence and even transform timelines. We can move from one timeline to another. We can totally shift our history. So this is absolutely amazing. So it's wonderful news. I've just been so enlivened actually to realize this, to think about this, that I've had this idea for a long time, but never have I seen it presented so clearly. So I'm going to share with you that webpage, and I hope many of you will take the time to read that conversation in which this idea is clearly explained, that one of the members of the Sphere Being Alliance that Corey Goode's website is named after, his name is Ra Tir Air, I think I'm pronouncing it properly. He is a sixth density being who is now quite actively interacting with and giving guidance to humanity through Corey Goode. He explained that this sort of timeline shift that we are definitely experiencing, the Mandela effect is the perfect example, this is common throughout the cosmos, that people regularly do this. They choose a certain future for themselves, they choose a certain past for themselves, and by their collective choice, by their cooperative choice, they actually shift their timeline. So I think I mentioned yesterday that even the Second World War may have had a different result. That is, the Germans, the Nazis, the Axis powers, Germany and Italy and Japan, they won the war in one timeline. And by the collective choice, by the prayer and meditation, by the influence of many beings, some human beings and some non-human, non-earthlings, that timeline was shifted. So we all were shifted from that timeline, which resulted in a very powerful dictatorial fascist world government, which there was very little freedom, to the situation that we're in now, which there is substantial freedom. And although there is a powerful international cabal of very, very wealthy people, powerful people in alliance with the very evil extraterrestrials, they still have substantial influence in the world, but that is changing. And in fact, in this conversation, Corey Goode and David Wilcock were discussing this possibility that we could even shift if enough of us have a positive attitude, enough of us are hopeful, we pray and we meditate on a wonderful world of peace and love in which there is no such negative, evil, controlling power, we can actually shift out of the timeline in which the cabal exists. And we can end up in a wonderful world where the cabal doesn't exist at all. So, wow, when I read that, I said, wow, this is wonderful. We can actually do it. This is somehow, this feeling was there in my heart that this is what I would love to see. And I was dreaming, I've been dreaming about this. For some reason, I don't know why, more than 35 years ago almost, I was given this message that in Pakistan, this understanding of reality where truth and love is the basic principle, they called it pure Islam, that pure Islam will be established or re-established in Pakistan, which means truth and justice and love and harmony and especially concern for all, especially the weaker elements of society. That actually will happen in Pakistan. So if enough of us, because I know most of my students are Pakistanis, that's why I'm mentioning this specifically, if Pakistanis gather together on the internet or in groups in Pakistan or elsewhere and meditate together, pray together as we're doing in our daily prayer and meditation, we meditate on peace, we meditate on justice, we meditate on honesty and openness in Pakistan, that will happen. At least, for sure, we who meditate like this and have this faith, this positive conviction that yes, this will happen, we will be shifted into that timeline. And we will bring many people with us. So, wow, this is just, it's such wonderful information. So, this is very important to understand that time is not that narrow channel that we're all being helplessly dragged down. But no, time is a network of possibilities, a network of timelines, and we can choose. Each one of us can choose which timeline we will be in. The negative timeline of war and conflict, endless war, as the neocons, the cabal, are promoting the idea of endless war. No, we are going to shift ourselves out of that timeline. We are going to enter the timeline of peace and love, where there is established on earth what we have traditionally called in the Christian tradition the kingdom of God on earth. So it's actually happening now. More and more people wake up to the possibility that we can actually do this. We can choose to direct our own thinking, our own thoughts, our own meditations towards peace, and it will happen. This is why the cabal, the international group of very evil and selfish and wealthy people, they want us to be afraid. They are promoting fear. They are promoting divisiveness, division between different groups of people. They are trying to create a clash of civilizations. They're trying to create a World War III. They're trying to create hatred between groups of people. They're trying to create mistrust, suspicion. So all of this on the internet is full of fear. People are afraid of what's happening. Horrible things are going to happen. There will be huge earthquakes, and there will be huge, and they're trying to create the earthquakes too, because there are, as we discussed recently, the HAARP, HAARP. If you're not familiar with it, you can do research on that too. But this is a technological device which also can be used to generate earthquakes. So they're there's a lot of fear from Hollywood movies too, that there may be an asteroid coming to hit the Earth, or a Nibiru, as we mentioned yesterday. There is a lot of fear, because if we are afraid, then that will generate fearful consequences. So please try to understand. This is just amazing to me, to become more aware of this and more convinced of it and more happy about this truth, that we can actually choose to leave that world of fear, that world of separation and division between peoples. We can choose to promote love and peace in our own lives, with our own families and friends and neighborhoods. We can choose peace and love, and it will actually happen. Many people will come along with us as we choose to enter into the timeline of peace and love. Wow. All right, it's been only 20 minutes or so, not even 20 minutes, because I couldn't connect right at 6:30, but just about, I'm going to end my class now and go to the comments, just because this is such an amazing idea. I think we may have gotten some responses here. Let's see how people are commenting. So we have a number of comments or questions that are not really relevant, but I will take the time to say that I am maintaining permanent residence in Esparto, California. That's where I am right now. This is beautiful Esparto. Oh, we have people from Dubai and Athens, Greece. Salma Aziz, can time be stopped? What is your opinion about it? I never thought about stopping time. Why would we want to stop time, perhaps? Yeah, I mean, I know that time as we experience is not really the reality that it appears to be. It's not a solid, concrete reality like we think of it. Our consciousness is actually outside of time as we think of time. So we can step out of time. Maybe time continues for those people who are within that hypnotic illusion, you can say. But we can certainly shift timelines. There exist different histories, different timelines, and we can choose which one we want to live in. We can shift the timeline that we have been put into, and we can choose a positive timeline. I don't think we want to stop time in that sense of not being able to do anything. But time in terms of, see, that time as we experience it means things deteriorate. This is how science describes time also, that the negative entropy is there. Everything, as science observes, it seems to deteriorate, and you need to put energy into it in order to create life, in order to create organization. So it's a big mystery in science. Why haven't things run down completely? Energy is coming in from somewhere. That's one proof of God, you might say, that there is some source of energy in the universe because of which this entropy has not run its course and everything has run down. So energy is coming in. So within time, we are experiencing the input of energy. So we don't want this to stop. We don't want time to stop. We want things to be able to happen. And we want to live, and we want to love, and we want to serve, and we want to be happy. This is our nature. But we can leave that time zone, you can say, we can leave that timeline in which everything deteriorates and everything falls apart and everything leads to calamities and catastrophes, fear. So we can leave that timeline. But we don't want to stop things from happening. Of course, sometimes people become frustrated because they have experienced again and again sad things happening, painful things happening, so they want to leave time altogether. But if we create a positive timeline, then it's wonderful. Then we want to continue existing within time, within that timeline, where we can be happy, where we can be loving, where we can cooperate with other people and promote a positive, healthy life and create a positive, healthy atmosphere in our planet, which the cabal is desperately trying to prevent from happening because they depend on ignorance, they depend on fear to maintain their control. And as we leave that fearful mentality, as we become aware of the truth and we become positive and loving, then that negative timeline disappears. It literally disappears. We leave that awareness of such a timeline. All right, we have somebody from Abbottabad, Muhammad Sajjad, but making a long comment, but nothing really relevant to our class. Okay, Shagufta Zafar, what should be the height of our awakened consciousness? Thank you very much. That's a very, very good question. Well, I guess if I had to put it in one word, I would say love. Love of all. Love of God, love of creation, love of ourselves, love of our friends and family, love of our country, love of our planet, love of our solar system, love of our galaxy, love of the whole millions and billions of galaxies, much of the universe as far as we can be aware of it, and other dimensions of reality. Just love, and let our love expand. Let our hearts expand as we talk about love even. We feel our hearts becoming warm and seem to, so the height of our awakened consciousness is love, and compassion, I think, is an important part of love also. Being compassionate to others and being compassionate to ourselves. So that, as my understanding, love is the topmost goal of our conscious development. Iqbal Wahid asks, what's your wisdom acquired regarding time travel in future or back in past? Yes, time travel is possible. If you don't believe it, you find that strange, do a little research. As I've mentioned before, Andy Bashago, who was running for President of the United States in this election earlier this month, I voted for him. He has traveled in the past. And I don't recall reading that he had traveled in the future. Maybe he has, but the United States secret intelligence agencies had developed time travel even in the 1970s and 1980s. And as a child, as an 11-year-old boy, Andy Bashago, whose father was an engineer and working in this program, he was transported back to, I believe it was 1863, when President Abraham Lincoln of the United States gave the famous Gettysburg Address. So they did an experiment and they transported him back to that time. And very, very interesting. This photo I've also posted on my Facebook page, and you can find it quite easily by doing a search on Andy Bashago, Basiago, Lincoln Gettysburg Address, time travel. You can see there's a photograph that was taken in 1863 of the Gettysburg scene when Lincoln was about to speak, and there is Andy Bashago, an 11-year-old boy who obviously is out of place. He doesn't look like he belongs in that time. He's a chubby boy, you might say. That was a time of great difficulty in the United States. A lot of people were thin because food was hard to get. And as he tells the story, he lost his shoes, and some kind gentleman gave him a pair of shoes which were much too big for him, and that pair of big shoes is on his feet in that photograph. So this is kind of shocking, huh? That somebody from the 1970s or 1980s was transported back to 1863, and a photograph was taken, which was found. It was in some museum or something, a photograph existing from 1863, taken in 1863, in which Andrew Basiago appeared. So this may seem impossible to us, but that's only because of our idea of time as a irreversible stream or river, whereas actually time is, as I said yesterday, three-dimensional. Just like we can travel around space in our existence, we can also travel around time in our existence. So yes, time travel is not only possible, but it is being done right now. And of course, they learned that there are a lot of problems because they tried to change history by going back and maybe changing something, and it didn't change history, it just created a new timeline. It created another timeline. So we can also create a new timeline by our choices, by our consciousness, especially by meditating on a certain life, a certain existence, a certain future for our planet, for ourselves, for our families, for our societies, for our countries, for our planet, for our solar system. We can meditate on a wonderful future, which then becomes the present, becomes the past even. We can change history by our own co-creative consciousness. This is the power that human beings have, our own consciousness, our own choice to work for peace, to establish loving relationships, to choose to be kind and to serve others. That choice that we make influences the world to an extent we can hardly imagine, including the past and the future, of course. Gemma Art asks, how to control the faster consciousness gaining? Sometimes it gets so fast that even it's impossible to note it down even. Yes, this is also something that I think in that very same conversation that I'm going to post the webpage for, Corey Good and David Wilcock are discussing how things are becoming a little bewildering to many people because we're sort of hopping timelines. It seems like things are happening faster. It's actually true. Time can speed up and slow down also. And as I understand it, time is speeding up right now. Many things are happening, and we are jumping from one timeline to another, which can become a little confusing and bewildering. So, how to control the faster consciousness gaining? Meditation, prayer. Just sit peacefully, take some deep breaths, meditate, chant the name of God or whatever technique helps your meditation become steady, and that will slow down this rushing mind. And that's a very good observation, that this is what I've heard from many sources, and I felt the same thing. Things seem to be speeding up. Things are happening so fast. It's not just that there's so much news, and because of the internet we can learn so much, there's so much more available for us, but it's also because time is actually speeding up. Joanna Sahiba, where did you read about the shifts on dimensions? I am going to post this conversation. It's more about timeline shifts than dimensional shifts, but I will, as soon as we finish this class, I will post that web page URL. Let's see, we have somebody from Abu Dhabi, Fahad Noor Afridi, giving regards. Shazaib Chima, you visited Pakistan or not? Yes, I have been a lot in Pakistan. I was a resident of Pakistan for the first 18 years of my life, from 1965 to 1947, which is, इसलिए मैं उर्दू पाकिस्तानी हूँ जैसे बोलता हूँ. And I also have visited Pakistan very frequently since 1980, almost every year actually, with a few exceptions. Most years I have visited Pakistan since 1980, because Pakistan is my home, my childhood home. And in the early 1980s, I was given this information that Pakistan is a very special place where pure Islam will be reestablished, meaning truthfulness, justice, love, harmony, salamti. This is what Islam means, real pure Islam. This will be reestablished in Pakistan. So I have been visiting Pakistan practically every year. I was there earlier this year, I was there last year. I did not visit in 2014, I was there in 2013, and practically every year from 1980 on. Pakistan, Zindabad. Pakistan is a very, very special place. It was established with a very special purpose in the divine plan. That is my conviction. So, again, Saima Aziz Mirza, I was asking that previous question about stopping time in reference to the experience of some people who feel time to have stopped, means such people go into a state where time doesn't exist. Well, there are certainly things like missing time and extra time. I've experienced that myself. Many people have, especially when they are in contact with extraterrestrials, they have experienced missing time because there are different time frames. Time travels at different speeds in different places. So you may go to a different dimension or to a different planet, and time may be going much faster there than it is here, or much slower. And when you come back, a lot of time may have passed, or you may be surprised to find that it's the same time as when you left. That happened to me once. I've talked about this experience before. This was in 1998 when I was taken off planet, and I felt a lot of time had passed. And then suddenly I realized it was about the same time, or hardly any time had passed. And at first I was confused, but then a few hours later I remembered what had happened during that time which I experienced. I knew that a lot of time had passed. I was taken off planet, and I was taken to a meeting where a discussion was going on about the future of our planet. At that time, 1998, the future meant 1999, when a great war was expected. A great world war actually had been destined, you can say, had been expected. And everyone was expecting it. It was practically universally expected and prophesied that this war would happen. Even Nostradamus predicted in 1999, the 7th month, in fact, he stated, a great terror from the sky would come, and it looked like he was talking about a nuclear war, perhaps. Anyway, in that meeting, which went on for, I don't know, an hour or two, it seemed, perhaps, I don't know how long, but after that meeting was over, in which, of course, the decision was made, or that we will prevent that war from happening. These were heavenly forces, you can say, extraterrestrial forces on a higher level of authority than our own planetary cabal leadership. They overruled, or they didn't actually, a higher, we can say God, or a divine source, made the decision to stop that war. So when I came back, I was put back at about the same time when I left. So how do you describe that? So in that sense you can say time stopped for me, or anyway, it seemed very strange. At that time I couldn't quite figure it out, but now I understand much better that time is not what we think of it as. We can actually step out of time. We can step into the past or into the future, and then we can come back, and we may have gone through a lot of experiences, and we can come back into the same time that we left. So that actually happened to me. And many people, not many, thousands, if not millions of people, have had such experiences of missing time or extra time. So when people go, I really don't know what you mean when you say it means such people go into a state where time doesn't exist. Time may exist there, but it may be a different speed of time, you may say. And I know there are many sources of such information. There are many, I think even in the Quran or the Hadith, there are descriptions of people who have stepped into another time frame, and when they came back, or when they woke up, it was hundreds of years later. I think there are some such things. So these may seem mythological to some people who think they're great scientists, but actually they are quite ignorant of the truths about time that we're learning about only now. Gemma Art asks, how can we say that our new timeline will stop cabal coming into it? Well, if we all meditate on peace and love and harmony, then the cabal will not be able to exist in that timeline that we enter. Because that is their nature. Their nature is to be hateful and manipulative and cause divisiveness. So either they will have to change, they'll have to give up their cabal ways, their ways of manipulating and controlling and deceiving people, or they will have to leave the timeline that we are creating, that we are choosing, that we are entering. So, Shazaib Chima, speak some Urdu please. जी हाँ, आप बताइए क्या बोलूं? किन चीज़ों के बारे में बात करूं उर्दू में? Amara Saeed, say something about love, ishq, and its relation with time. Thank you very much. Wonderful topic. But let me just say to Shazaib Chima ji that I do speak in Urdu every Saturday. This class is held in Urdu. So if you come Saturday to this class, that is Saturday morning in USA, Saturday evening in Pakistan, the whole class is in Urdu. All right, so Amara Saeed, very, very wonderful question. Sir, say something about love, ishq, and its relation with time. So, love, of course, for me at least, it's very clear, is the most powerful force that exists. The Law of One series also describes the primary law, you can say, of existence is oneness, tawheed. The second most important factor is free will. That is the choice that we are given. We have the choice to choose ourselves by our own freedom, our own free will, whether we will love or whether we will be lazy, whether we will be selfish or we will be serving others. That freedom exists. That's the second fundamental law. And the third is love. So specifically, love and its relation to time is the question. Well, certainly love is much more powerful than time. Love is outside of time. Love exists before time begins. So as we participate in love, as we act in a loving way, we actually go outside of time. We go beyond time. And we can step into the past or future, or we can create a new future, or we can create a new past by the power of love, because love exists beyond time, outside of time, before time. So time has no influence on love, but love influences time. Love actually creates and controls what happens, generates timelines. So we can choose the timeline of love. In fact, I just realized I had written an article which is posted on my website, allintelligentlife.com, which is called, I'm trying to remember the name of it right now, but it's about timeline wars. And anyway, the conclusion of that article is that all other timelines eventually are erased and deleted, and the timeline of love is the reality that exists in the end. So, yes, love is the most fundamental feature, along with our free will and along with the law of oneness, the law of Tawheed, that everything is related to everything else. Nothing is separated. We imagine that we have our own separate existence as a being who can act for my own good, which is separate from other people's good. That is an illusion. Our own good is not separate from other people's good. If we think I can choose something for my own selfish advantage over somebody else, it doesn't work. If we choose to love and serve someone else, we're actually loving and serving ourselves. So, Ishq-e-Ilahi, divine love, is the most powerful force that exists. And when I say the name of God is the most powerful force, that's because God is love. The name of God is also full love. So when we chant as we do in our daily meditation. We chant Allahu, Allahu, Allahu. I do it. Other people may choose other names of God to select. As we do that, we feel love growing in our heart. As we chant the name of God, we feel outside of time even. We feel an eternal existence of love. So I hope that's enough about the relationship of love and time. Another request to speak in Urdu मैंने पहले बताया था शाह चीमा साहब को भी ये सैयद ज़ादा शाह जी भी दरख्वास्त कर रहे हैं कि मैं उर्दू में बात करूं, लेकिन काफ़ी लोग हैं जो उर्दू नहीं बोलते हैं जो इस क्लास में आते हैं, तो इसलिए मैं अभी ज़्यादा उर्दू नहीं बात करूंगा, बल्कि शनिचर को हर सैटरडे को बस उर्दू में ही पूरी क्लास होता है. ओके, और कौन से सवाल हैं? Joanna Saib, were you sleeping while that happened? Were you sleeping while that happened? No. I was not sleeping. I was wide awake. And it seemed to me that something had happened. I definitely was not asleep because I was actually walking. I was standing and walking. And then a little bit later, it seemed like a long time later, I sort of, wait, what happened? And then afterwards I could remember that I had been taken off planet. So I definitely was not asleep. I guess the question could be asked, and I'm not completely sure of this, whether I was in my body, whether I was taken off planet in my body, or whether my body remained here and my consciousness was taken, or my subtle body was taken. I think my body was taken there. That's the way it seemed to me, but I'm not completely sure of that. But some of the other experiences I've had with extraterrestrials definitely was in this body, because there was physical evidence. But I was not sleeping, definitely. Were they Vesuvians? I think you mean Venusians from Venus, like Ra-Tir air, the sixth density beings in the sphere being alliance called the Blue Avians. Their ancient past history was from Venus. They left Venus a long time ago, but they were from Venus, so they are maybe known as Venusians. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. So maybe you can clarify, or else Vesuvians. I'm not familiar with that name or that term. But there are Venusians, people who originated from Venus, that are coming to our planet, have been for a long time, many thousands of years at least. Again, Saim Aziz Mirza, you are right. There is a story of Zuleika and Joseph. Zuleika loved Joseph so much that she turned very old in her mourning and separation, but then through prayer and meditation by Joseph and other divine people, she was brought back to be youthful again. Yes, these things are not, impossible. These aren't myths. These aren't, they aren't fairy tales. This actually happens. The time is not what we have been taught it is by people who want to control us and deceive us into thinking that we're powerless, powerlessly being carried along by time and cannot do anything. In fact, this about being youthful again, there is an age regression technology which the secret space programs utilize, which people can be regressed in age also. That actually happened to Corey Goode himself, whose discussion with David Wilcock I'm going to post a webpage for. So, and many people, not only he, many people have talked about having been age regressed. That technology is possible even to scientists, what to speak of to divine people. All right. Amara Saeed says, Hazrat Iqbal says, Tere ishq ki intiha chahta hoon, meri sadgi dekh kya chahta hoon. Aha. Ishq ki intiha. So there are many tests of love. This is a wonderful phrase because we all go through these tests of love. Ishq ki intiha, or the ultimate love. That is our natural tendency. We want to go to the ultimate end of love, highest extent of love. That is our nature. Our very nature is to be loving, and our nature is to become more and more loving, and we have a natural desire in our hearts to reach the extreme limit of love. Love of God, love of all humanity and all of creation, and love of ourselves has to be included. I want to stress that. We have to love and forgive ourselves as well as loving and forgiving all others. And Joanna Saiba, oh, incredible, very wonderful. This is wonderful, yes. Yes, Venusians, she was meaning to talk about those people from Venus, yes. As Valiant Thor. Yes, I've heard of Valiant Thor. He was a person who appeared, as I understand it, maybe in the 1950s. He even met government officials in Washington, D.C., and spent some time with them. Yes, there are people from Venus who are visiting our planet. There are people from many different planetary systems. So I just saw the time, that our time is actually up, so I think that's a very good place to end. It's wonderful. Let us all be very happy. Let us be aware that by the power of our own choice, our own free choice to choose love, to choose working together in harmony, to choose peace, to choose truthfulness and justice, we can bring it about. So you're welcome to join me. Let's see, it's now 7:20 here, so that's a little over 10 hours from now, wherever you are. In 10 hours we will meet again on my Facebook live chat, and we will do a prayer and meditation. We will meditate doing our deep breathing, which we actually didn't do in this session, but we can do it now as we conclude. We will breathe deeply in, slowly. We will exhale very slowly while we meditate either on our breath or on the name of God, or we can visualize the Holy Prophet. I choose to. Mainly when I meditate, I'm meditating on him because I'm feeling great love and guidance coming from him. And we also recite the Durud Sharif Ibrahimi, meditating specifically on the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and praying for his blessings, the blessings of God upon him, his blessings upon us and upon Pakistan specifically. I always identify the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, with the land of Pakistan, as I do on my Facebook main picture. So we will end now, and hope to see you again in 10 hours. And we will end with one deep breathing exercise and one Durud Sharif. May God protect us all. I'm going to breathe. You're welcome to join me, breathing in to the count of 8, or the chanting 8 names of Allah, and exhaling to 16. Allahu, 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 Allah, 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 Allah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ala Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ala Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ala Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ala Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. Allah Hafiz.